Crusader. Welcome to today's video. And in today's video, I am going to be introducing you to Beginner's Rat Care Part 2. And this video is going to be about rat colors, patterns, and types. So I hope you enjoy. First thing I'm going to go over is going to be the body types, which is probably one of the most important things about rats and their types. So the first one I'm going to go over is the standard rat. Now the standard rat is like basically your normal rat that you would see anywhere, and it's basically just the original rat, and there's nothing weird about it. So then we've got the dwarf rat, which in this picture the dwarf rat is on the right. You can see it's about 1/3 of the size of the standard rat, which is on the left side. So you can see the difference between in that photo, and that's basically what a dwarf rat looks like. And then finally we have the Manx, which is basically like the Manx cat. It's tailless. As you can probably see in the picture, this rat has no tail. Next thing we're going to go over is going to be the ear types. Now ear types are another very important thing that rats have. So I'm going to start with the top ear, and the top ear is like the normal, most common. And what I think about these is you probably find them everywhere you go. There's really no difference, they just look like the standard rat, and that's what Riley and Esther are. And on the other hand, there are rats that have the Dumbo ears, which are larger and they're put on the side of the head, and they make the rat look so much cuter. As you can probably see, or you probably know, that Riley is a Dumbo-eared rat, and a lot of people say she looks adorable because of her ears. That's what I like about Dumbo-eared rats between the top-eared rats. They are just so cute. This will be the last section for rat types, and I'm going to go over the fur types. Now the first fur type I'm going to go over is going to be the Rex, and the Rex is basically a rat that has, well, curly whiskers and curly fur, which I see a lot of people with these, but although they are curly, they are pretty rough, so I haven't had one personally. And so there's also the other version of this called the Double Rex, which is more of a patchy version of the Rex. You'll probably see some bald spots on these type of rats because they're more on the patchier side. And then finally, in this area, we've got the Hairless, which is completely hairless, like kind of like the naked or cat or Sphinx cat, you can say. And basically, well, they're hairless. Basically it for the curly / short-haired rats. Now we're going to go to the long-haired rats. Now the first long-haired rat I'm going to talk about is the Silk. This is one of the most common long-haired rats. And basically, well, their fur is very straight and very silky. And I bet you probably like these rats a lot. They're one of the most common, along with the Rex and some other types. And then the next one is going to be the Velveteen, which the Velveteen is basically a softer version of the Rex and satin or silk coats. And basically that means that it's softer than the Rex and it's not curly, but it is more longer than the silk or the satin, as you can say. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is the Harley. Now the Harley is the rat with the longest hair. It is completely covered in long hair, and it is super hard to bathe, especially because there's so much fur, especially if your rat has lice. I don't recommend getting these rats if they're going to get lice, which is a very bad thing, because if they do get lice, it's very hard. Final type, sorry I miscounted on the other one, is going to be the eye types. So the first eye type we have is the black-eyed rat. Now this is the most common. This mostly appears in colors such as basically all the colors except for at least a few, and it can be rare in white rats, as you probably see in this picture right now. And so the next type I'm going to talk about is going to be the pink-eyed rat. And the pink-eyed rat kind of reminds me of a devil in a way, because, well, its eyes are like pink and clear and kind of weird looking. And these mostly appear in white rats the most. They can also appear in other colors as well, but the majority of this type of eye color is in beige, fawn, champagne, argente, and white. And so the next eye color I'm going to be talking about is going to be the red-eyed. Now this appears highly and white rats, along with dove and mink rats as well. And this eye color is just really, really red, and it stands out very well. And then we've got the ruby-eyed. The ruby-eyed is the most common type of eye color in white rats. Like Esther, she is a ruby-eyed. Some people thought she was a red-eyed for some reason, but no, as you can probably see in this picture right now, she actually is a ruby-eyed. And then we also have the brown-eyed, which is the rarest type of eye color, and it's not very common, as you can probably tell, because, well, this eye color is very rare. And so the last eye color I'll talk about is the odd-eyed, which is basically they have one color eye and another color eye. For example, a black eye and a pink eye and a red eye, a ruby eye and a black eye, or a black eye and a brown eye. It can be any different combination of eye, as long as it has two different eye colors. That's what an odd-eyed rat is. Now I'm going to go on to patterns. Now this is the end of the types, and now we're going to be on to patterns. So the first pattern I'm going to talk about is the self. And basically the self is a, well, solid color rat, and it basically can come in any shade of color. It doesn't really matter what color it comes in. Then we've got the hooded, which is basically a rat that has a, well, any color top from head to paws, and it usually has a stripe going down its back. Now I was going to say black stripe, but I just realized that it can come in any other color. And it doesn't matter what color the rat comes in, as long as it has that stripe, it's a hooded. Now there's also the broken hooded as well, but what's different about the broken hooded is that its stripe is kind of faded. As you can see in this picture, this rat is a black hooded, but you can see it doesn't look like it has a full stripe, so that means it's a broken hooded rat. To finish the hooded / the self kind of area, and so another one of the hooded types of rats in the family is going to be the variegated, which the spots are kind of like scattered, like it's not a broken hooded, but like I guess you can say the color is kind of scattered on the stripe, and it's not like an original type of hooded rat. And then we've got the Dalmation rat, which you can probably realize that name from the Dalmatian dog, and yes, it basically is a spotted rat. It basically just has spots all over it. It's part of the hooded family because, well, looks like the stripes split up on the fur. And I just think they look pretty cool. And they usually come in the color of black because that's usually what Dalmatian dogs look like. So this is the end of the hooded family. And other than the self, we also have the Berkshire, which almost everyone has these type of rats. All three of my rats are Berkshires, although with Esther you can't really notice it because I think she might be a self because she's a white rat, but I'm pretty sure she's a Berkshire. But other than that, Riley and Heather are both Berkshires because they have a color across their body, and then if you flip them over onto their back, you'll notice they have white paws and they have a white belly. Now if your rat has white paws and a white belly, that means your rat is a Berkshire. I'm going to go to the underside category patterns, and the first one I'm going to talk about is the Irish. So the Irish rat basically comes in one color, and then underneath it has a white giant triangle on its belly. And then there's also the English Irish, which has not just one triangle, but two triangles, which you can probably notice in this picture. And then the final one I'm going to talk about is going to be the main of this category, called the Down Under. Now the reason why they call it the Down Under is because this rat usually kind of looks like a hooded, but it doesn't have the stripe on its back, and instead it has the stripe on its belly. Now down unders aren't just striped, down unders can also be Berkshires, and down unders can also be spotted. In this picture, the down under is a spotted. That's why it kind of looks like a Dalmatian or a variegated underneath. Final pattern category I'm going to go over is going to be the ticked category, or ticked patterns. Now that basically means is basically the color can get darker throughout the rat's body between nose to tail or tail to nose. And so the first one I'm going to talk about is going to be the Himalayan. Now Himalayan is just like the next type I'm going to talk about, but the only difference is that the Himalayan has lighter colors, and basically that means that you'll notice that it will either be white, mink, dove, light blue, or powder blue, blue, or I think even a little on the grayish side. So basically, that's what the Himalayan is, and basically as you get closer to the nose, you'll notice that the Himalayan starts to have darker colors. Along with the Siamese rat is just like the Siamese cat. It basically has a darker nose and a darker tail because of its ticked effect on its fur. And basically, Siamese rats come in darker colors while the Himalayan comes in lighter colors. So Siamese rats come in beige, fawn, cinnamon, mink, agouti, and even some are black, which is very surprising since usually the tip of the color on a Siamese nose is usually black. What I'm going to talk about in the tipped family is the Husky. Now what's different about the Husky is that it has mixed colors, but as the Husky rat gets older, its colors start to fade into either white or black. Now this is very common for Husky rats, so if you see your rat's colors fading, that means your rat is a Husky. I'm going to be going on to the colors category, and this is going to be the last category where you're going to go over. So the first one I'm going to go over is going to be the white rat, which is basically one of the most common, and a lot of people known as the lab rats, which they're still technically fancies, because if you find them in any other place other than labs, then they're technically fancies. Then we've got the black rat. This is what heather is, and they usually come in self kind of patterns and things like that. Then we've also got the blue, which is like Riley. They have like a grayish kind of tint on their fur and other things like that. And then we've got the Russian blue, and the Russian blue is a darker kind of color. I've seen somebody who's had a Russian blue hooded before, and they're just beautiful. I want one so bad. They're just so beautiful. Then we have the mink, which is like a kind of darker version of the Russian blue. And then next to that, we've got the fawn, which is basically a really light version of the blue, also known as powder blue. You can also think of the champagne, which is kind of like a darker fawn, and the beige, which is a little lighter champagne. And then we've got the silver fawn, which is basically a ticked pattern or a flecked pattern, and it's also known as amber, and these rats are pretty. And then we've got the agouti, which is like a brownish flecked rat. And next to that, we've got the cinnamon, the Argente, and the Slivered Mink. Now, what these three have in common is, well, they're all flecked, and they all have pretty good color recommendations. Like Argente and beige almost look exactly the same, while on the other hand, the Slivered Mink looks more like a champagne or silver fawn than it does for a beige. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!